Good afternoon and welcome to our breakout session. Thank you so much for your patience. My name is Rebecca Swanson and I'm really excited to be hosting this session on human potential and personal mastery. So just a couple of housekeeping things. Firstly, I'd like you to be prepared. Now this workshop is going to ask you, I'm going to ask you, a lot of questions for you to personally reflect on. So grab a pen, grab a paper, make sure it's there, ready for you. And I want you to allow yourself to be open. Okay, let's check our egos and all that stuff at the door. And let's be open to what we can learn about ourselves and our aha moments that we can discover, and really think about how we can apply some of those aha moments into our new day-to-day lives moving forward as business owners and generally in our life. Now, if you have any questions or any comments, please just put it in the chat section. You can personally, privately message me through the chat, and I can always get back to those questions throughout the course of the afternoon. I'm here all afternoon as well. So let's get started. Now, with regards to the session, there's going to be three things I'm going to touch on. The first thing is going to be, what is the pathway to reach our human potential? The second thing is, how do we understand ourselves as human beings? The third thing is, how do we gain this beautiful balance of our inner world and our outer world? So the question being, how do we reach our human potential? With that being the goal, because who wouldn't want to, right? Who wouldn't want to reach their human potential in this world? Well, to look at how we get our human potential, we have to look first at what is the opposite. Now, some of you may already know the answer to this question. It is burnout. And burnout comes from adrenal fatigue and also then adrenal exhaustion. Now, in my experience working with clients and people, I find that majority of people, especially small business owners, sit at this level, just before burnout. The world is so busy. They have so many things to do, so many things keeping them distracted in their minds that really, they don't even realize they're at this point. So how do we move from this point all the way forward to our human potential? Well, this is the pathway. The first thing is to really balance our inner world and our outer world. And I'll show you how to do this a little bit later on. Once we've balanced our inner and outer world, we're then able to move to a place of personal mastery. And there is a lot of different things that you can do, and that is part of having personal mastery in your world. And I'm not going to go through all of those today, but it is from that place of personal mastery that you are able to reach your human potential. Now, you're probably asking, how do I know this? And I want to share with you just a really quick story about my experience and how I came to realize that this was a really beautiful pathway to take. Now, about 5 years ago, I was a corporate executive, had been in the corporate world for 25 years. I was a mum. Well, I still am a mum, so that sometimes I wish I wasn't, but generally I am still a mum of young children. I was a wife, and I thought that everything was just tracking along. Yes, I was busy. Yes, there was a lot going on. But what I didn't realize is one morning when I just didn't want to get out of bed, I was exhausted, and I thought I would just take the day off. I rang my boss, and as I called him, I'll never forget this moment. I told him that I wasn't well and I wasn't coming in, and as he asked me what was wrong, I felt the tears well up in my eyes, this lump in my throat, and my knees just collapsed from under me. And I just hit the kitchen floor, sobbing uncontrollably. The only words that I could find was, "I'm broken." And as it turns out, leading up to that, I had no idea there was a problem, but I'd suffered a complete burnout from adrenal fatigue and exhaustion. And that was the turning point for me. That was when I realized, how do I figure out how I got to this place without even knowing it? And how do I move forward to protect against not doing that again? And so this journey was a journey of self-rediscovery. It took me back to my psychology studies and a whole lot of other studies in ancient wisdom, in the unconscious mind, the human conscious psyche, a whole range of different things. And so what I'm going to share with you is a really key piece of information that really I know is going to probably make you have a look at, am I on that path? And if I am, what can I do differently to make sure that I can protect against that path? And maybe not even for you, but maybe you could help somebody else close to you who you think might be on this path as well. So let's go through some personal reflection time. I would like you to write down all of the hats that you currently wear. Now, this may be you're a spouse, you're a husband or wife, you're a parent, you're a business owner, you're a manager, you might be a brother, you might be a carer to aging parents. You may even be the soccer coach of a kid's soccer team. Just quickly write down all of those hats that you wear. And once you've written down those hats, I want you to look and see, did you write down who you are when all those hats are off? So what about you? This is a role as well. I mean, it's not a role that you play, but it is you, and we always forget about us. So I want you to write down me, if you haven't already. And then I would like you to have a think and write down next to each of these roles, what's your time investment that you're investing into each of these different roles? You might put it in hours, might be a percentage, whatever works for you. And really just have a look at what you've written down. See how that feels to look at that. Now, I find a lot of people, when they write down their roles, they find that they're looking a lot in their external world and not in their internal world. So, as I mentioned, the pathway from burnout, or just before it, towards our human potential is to balance our inner and outer worlds. So this is what I'm going to just take you through really quickly now. So how do you gain balance? Well, the first thing you need to do is understand yourself. And I'm going to show you a little bit about this. Once you understand who you are as a human being, then you have the ability to look at, well, how do I focus more on my internal worlds? Yeah, does this ring true a little bit? So, understanding the self. Now, there is a lot that makes up the engineering of a human being. I'm just going to really simplify this in a really quick way for you to understand. We have three bodies, essentially. And by looking at each of these individual bodies, we can look at how do we align them and work on them individually. So the first one is our physical body. So we're all familiar with our physical bodies. This is things like our organs, our muscles, our skeleton, bones, this physical being and this physical body that we have. The next is our mental bodies. Now, our mental bodies, it's made up of our nervous system. So all of our thoughts and our minds, so our conscious mind, our unconscious mind. The last one that I want to highlight to you is our energy body. So our energy body is made up of tens and tens and tens of thousands of energy tubes that run through our bodies. And if this is a foreign concept to you, you may think about Chinese medicine and traditional Chinese therapies like acupuncture, where they talk about meridians along our energy system. So our energy body also means our chakras. So our chakras are these energy centers throughout our body where we really receive a lot of energy, and they represent different parts of our lives, our personality, and who we are as human beings. Our energy body extends outside of us, so into our aura. You might recall that if somebody comes behind you and gets a bit too close, you can kind of feel them. their energy. You can feel that someone's there, and that's sort of how you kind of come into somebody's energy field. Now, the energy body is really important because it's our life force. Okay, you'll hear words like chi and a whole range of different things, but it is our life force. We receive cosmic energy that gives us, that fuels a whole range of different things in our bodies. Now, it's not the most important because all three that I've mentioned work together. And alignment of all of those three is going to be key in pretty much anything that you want to do as a human being. Successful business, successful life, in anything that you really want to achieve and really reach that human potential. So, I haven't mentioned emotions. And emotional health, I think, is one of the most important. Now, what are emotions? Emotions are thoughts that we give energy to. Now, this is unique to each individual human being. So the one thought, the same thought that comes in to two different people, one person may give it a lot of energy based on an experience that they had. They could elicit a negative emotion because of a memory, a bad memory. Well, the next person could have the same thought and they could elicit, well, not much because they don't give it energy because it doesn't have any meaning to them. And so they just discard it and go, yeah, that's fine. So our emotions are those thoughts that we give energy to, and we decide what energy we give to them. Okay, let's keep on moving. So now we know who we are, and we've got some kind of model to break down who we are, as simple as it is. Let's have a look at what our inner and outer worlds are and the difference between them. Now, our outer world is when we engage with things outside of us. So that would be people, places, things, and tasks, versus our inner world, which is when we're observing what's going on within our body. Okay, so we're observing our emotions. What emotions are we feeling? We might observe pain that we feel within our body. We have this self-talk that most people ignore. You don't even hear it, but it's going on the whole time. But stopping and listening to it is really observing what's going on in that mental body. And one of the other things is this energy. You feel this energy, okay? So you're observing, have I got a high energy? Am I low energy? Am I really struggling to get through? So this is the difference between the inner world and the outer world. Now, what about business owners? Now, in my experience, business owners are mindlessly engaged. Not all of them. There are some who are very in tune with their inner world. But most business owners, especially small business owners, are engaged in their outer world all the time. People, things, really kind of engaging in their external world. They can become very reactive. Now, as I'm saying these things, I'd like you to just have a think, which ones am I checking off for myself? You know, am I out there engaging in things and with people all the time? Am I reactive more often than not? And when I switch on and switch off, now some people are really good at switching on and switching off, but switching on and switching off doesn't always mean you shut down your computer and you walk out the door and you go home. That's physically, your physical body is moving away from work, but your mental body can keep going. So if you're engaging in your life and your family life and your home life, but you're still thinking, oh, I've got to do this, and oh, I'm worried that I need to do that, or you're still thinking about work, you haven't switched off at all. And what I find is when you don't do that, that puts a strain on your personal relationships, marriages, parent-child relationships, any kind of family or personal relationships really get strained because you're not there. You're not wholly and solely there experiencing that home life. So I am going to give you some tips, okay? So how do we focus on our inner world? So we've got our physical body, our mental body, and our energy body, as I just said. So here's the tip. Being aware of all of these bodies and proactively looking after each and every one of them. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Being aware of all of these bodies and proactively, not reactively, proactively looking after each one. Now, how do we do that? So I'm going to give you some tips and some things to think about. And as I go through these, I really want you to write them down, okay, and just try them on. So let's start with our physical body. This is a little bit obvious, but you don't really take the time to check in with yourself on this. So let's do it now. Number one, our physical body and our organs and our bones require nutrition, right? They need vitamins, they need minerals. So having good nutrition day in, day out is going to be key. Exercise. And you don't have to go and slog out forever and ever a day at a gym. Trust me, I don't. Simple walking, simple stretching, just moving your body is really, really good to make sure you're looking after your physical body. Now, sleep. A lot of business owners I talk to don't get quality sleep. Okay? I'm going to encourage you to just have a good think. What is the quality of the sleep I'm getting? And in addition to that, what kind of rest time am I getting while I'm awake? Okay, when do I just stop and have some downtime for me, right? Now, I want you to rate yourself 1 to 10 on these 4 things. Your personal view of your own nutrition, 0 to 10, pick a number. It's going to be personal to you. Exercise, sleep, and rest. Do that now if you haven't done it already. Now we're going to move on to the mental body, and I want you to continue to rate yourself with this, okay? So no slacking off. Really be really clear about how you feel about these things. So our mental body, some things that we can do to be proactive is listen to our self-talk. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't speak to anybody the way sometimes that I speak to myself. It's really not productive at all, and it's a bit scary. And it's only when you start to listen to it that you start to realize how unproductive it can be. So and 0 to 10, how aware are you of your own self-talk and whether it's productive or not? The second thing is where you focus your attention. Are you focusing your attention on positive things that are going to serve you, or are you getting caught up in drama cycles and this negativity of the world that's dragging you back? You know, how aware of you, how active are you in focusing your attention? The last one for mental body is to be present. Now, I mentioned before that when you leave work, you think you've switched off and you're having family time, but you're actually still thinking about something else, like work, right? So you're not present. You're not really in the room with your family, or you're not really in the game if you're playing a sports game with the teammates or something. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, I have downtime, I have me time, I'm present. But what I find people do is they escape. They just do escapism behavior. They sit and watch TV. That's their downtime. Or alcohol, drinking the wine in the afternoon of a night time. So things like this is really avoidism and escapism behavior, because we just don't want to be kind of reflecting on ourselves, and we kind of use that to sort of stop our mind, but it's not helping our physical body by doing those kinds of things. So rate yourself 1 to 10 on those 3 things. The next one that we're going to talk about is the energy body. And here are 3 little things that you can do. The first one is to get out in nature. Grounding yourself on the grass. Just taking your shoes off, putting your feet on the grass. All the static electricity that's going on inside of your body will go. Okay, you know that when you know about plugging in to PowerPoints and you've got an earth, it's earthing, right? You're grounding. So you're neutralizing that static electricity in your body. The sun is amazing as well. You get so much energy from the sun. So how often are you grounding and are you in the sun? Rate yourself. And getting into nature as well. Even just walking through nature is amazing. The second thing is meditation. Everybody talks about meditation, and a lot of us don't know how to meditate. We don't know how to turn off our mind. Now, I have some great tips and some great programs on that. And if you would like to know more information about that, get in contact with me, shoot me a message, and I'll connect you into some amazing resources, because I struggled with meditation I only started doing it properly a couple of years ago. I tried, I had no idea. It was so frustrating, but it actually can be quite simple. And we get our energy stores, believe it or not, through meditation. We only get so much replenishing while we're asleep. We need to have this stillness to be able to receive more energy. So rate yourself. Are you meditating? Are you taking that time to still? The other thing is, are you doing things that you are passionate about? If you are running around in circles, doing everything for everybody else, and none of it is what lights you up, you're not going to have energy. But if you're doing things that you love to do, you'll find that you can go forever. You'll get this energy from nowhere. So how many things are you doing in your week that really light you up, that you're passionate about, that really give you this energy? Rate yourself, 0 to 10. Okay, so let's move on and do some reflection time. You've done your ratings. How have you rated? Now remember, this is all about reaching our human potential. These are ways to get some balance of the inner and outer world. So how did you rate on all those things? Then I want you to really have a look at, well, what's my time investment? And where do I probably need to adjust my time investment? And where can I focus my energy a little bit more in some of these areas? And if you're saying to yourself, but I don't have time, but how am I going to find that? And but the economics, this person, I have to do this. If you are full of excuses as to why you can't shift around some of your time, I want you to really just sit and write those down for a minute. Who are you blaming, or what are you blaming for not looking after yourself? Because if you're blaming and making excuses, you're just sabotaging all of your efforts. So are you self-sabotaging? Now, this is unconscious, but when you can sit and look at it this way, you can probably realize, you know what? I am probably sabotaging my efforts to look after myself. And if I'm not looking after myself, how am I ever going to reach personal mastery and human potential? Yeah. So you're sitting here probably saying to me, oh my God, there's so much that I need to probably put a little bit more effort into. Where do I start? There is just too much, Beck. And I get that. So the first thing that you should be focusing on is being present. Okay, now what does that mean? I'm going to show you. Being mindfully present is where you focus your attention internally, right? Not externally into the world, but internally. And here's a tip. Our emotions can guide us here. So when we're present, we're calm, we're happy, and we're curious about life. However, if our mind is into the future, we're experiencing things like anxiety, worry, fear. And when we are in the past, when we're thinking about past events, we're experiencing negative emotions sometimes. Well, you can experience positive emotions, and the positive ones, the positive memories are great. You can stay there, you can enjoy those memories. But when you are thinking about past memories and they're creating anger, frustration, guilt, grief, all of these emotions, you're not in the present, right? You're either thinking and worrying about things that haven't even happened yet in the future, or you're pulled back and anchored to past things that just take up time and energy that you shouldn't have to worry about. So, what can you do about this? Well, if you find that you're in the future, you need to just dedicate time to plan. Because as business owners, I get it. We have to plan. We have to plan our vision, our goals. Where are we going? What's our pathway? You just don't want to live there, okay? You don't want to live there at all. You want to set aside some time, do your planning, and put it out into the future and go, great, I've done it. I've done my risk assessment. I know what I want to achieve. Here it is in the future. Now I can step back and be present, knowing that that's there. And I can check in intermittently on that. That will bring you back to the present. As well, if you are in the past and you're stuck in these negative emotions, what you need to do is resolve your past and heal the emotional pain and memories that you have. And there's plenty of people out there who can assist you with that. I do a lot of this work myself with clients, but really going back and having the courage to go back and heal that so you don't get dragged into it is going to be incredibly important if you want to stay in the present. So, some takeaways for you from today. What commitments are you going to make to yourself to really focus more on your inner world? What habits are you going to create? Because this is all about creating good habits. And how are you going to hold yourself accountable? Now, it's difficult to hold yourself accountable. Some tips. Just recognize your self-sabotage. Just be aware of it. And then sometimes it's easier to have an accountability partner. Someone, not your wife, not your partner, not anyone too close to you, someone you trust. To sit down and say, this is what I'm wanting to achieve. Can you help me stay accountable for it? And meet with them regularly. Now, if you want to know more about all of this information, please send me a message. This is how you can connect with me on Facebook and with LinkedIn. And by all means, if you want to know about my accountability program so that I can help you really get back that balance and set you off on the pathway to human potential, reach your human potential, then by all means, reach out in any of these ways, or just send me a quick chat message and I'll show you how to connect with me. Thanks so much, guys, for attending, and I really hope that you create some amazing habits moving forward in balancing out your inner world and your outer world.